and hello Instagram. Today I'm going to be speaking about how you can create a good environment to plan and to map your dreams out in. Now if you see me kind of flitting between Instagram and Facebook, it's because I'm trying this experiment where I go live on both channels at the same time and see how that is going. Thank you so much for those of you who are joining me live. I'm really humbled by the fact that you're spending your time watching me. And I think that you're here because you want to learn how to create a good environment to plan your dreams. And it's a really kind of interesting thing that we reflect upon at this time of year, because what happens is essentially we are all kind of trying to work out, what is it that we want to do in our next 12 months or so. And that may be happening kind of in terms of the messages that you're seeing on your social media. It may be happening because you've realized that, you want something different, you want something more, and you're not quite sure how to get it. And what's really interesting for me is, look, I've been there, I've done that, I have tried so hard to plan so many different things and, to work out ways for how I can actually take those crazy aspirations that I have and turn them into a reality. And the one thing that I realized really strongly today was you need to have the right environment in order for you to do that. And so I remember once kind of interviewing someone for a show that I do in a particular niche in practical theology and psychology. And we happened to meet for the first time to record this particular show after meeting on the internet many times. And he said to me, so how can we actually make this so that when we are engaging in real terms, we actually still have that same kind of atmosphere that we have when we are speaking online? And I said to him, very importantly, I said, look, when I open up my laptop and I prepare for our meeting, I said, I feel as if I'm welcoming you into my home. And that's quite an important little thing for you to really be thinking about. What is the essence of your home? What is it that you're trying to create? How can you actually feel comfortable and happy in the environment that you're in, so it's conducive to work? Because here's the thing, right? If your physical environment is messy or it's challenging or you don't feel quite comfortable in it, then chances are you're not going to produce the best work. And it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're studying or working or planning for your dreams, you need to be on your A game when you're doing those things. And how you do that is partly by making sure that you actually create the right physical environment. So I'm going to urge you, if there's anything that kind of, irritates you about your workspace, change it. And look, it's a kind of very busy time of year at the moment. There's a lot going on. And I usually tend to work from home, but today, I actually realized that I needed to get out to work because the mindset that is within my workspace, it just wasn't there. So I went to a coffee shop. And what's wonderful is that locally we have a great coffee shop where a lot of people go to work and a lot of students go to study. And it's always really cool just to go there because you feel as if you're going to the office. Find that kind of environment for you, even if it's just for a couple of hours a day. You get a nice cup of coffee, you get a drink, you can even eat there, and you get a good environment where other people are urging you to kind of keep on going and keep working and keep living for your dreams, because that's what they're doing too. I remember something really powerfully, actually. It was an inspiration to me. I kind of go to the coffee shop pretty regularly. I would go, for a few hours every day because I find that I get some really good work done in there. And there was a guy that I started to see coming, and he would get there before me and he would leave after me. And, it was amazing because he wasn't kind of there and it's very easy to get distracted. And I would do it sometimes where you just kind of pretend you're working, but you go on social media. So, we're all human, we're all guilty of it, but it's recognizing that happens and then kind of doing something different. What he was doing was he would turn up, he would open up his laptop, get out his phone, and literally every day he was looking for a job. And it really inspired me because it just made me think, gosh, this guy is so committed to his dreams and to his goals that he is there every single day, committed 100% to finding a job. And he must have been coming every day for 3-4 weeks maybe. And then all of a sudden he just, he stopped and disappeared. And I saw him recently and I was like, did you manage to get that job? And he said, yeah. That's how you achieve your dreams, through persistence, through finding the right environment, and through really, really continuing and believing that you can do it. And that's what that guy did. I mean, there were times where I could see that he was just so frustrated and fed up by the situation that he was in. But what did he do? He just kept on going. He kept working on his dreams. So find that environment, and then, it's easy for you then to be persistent and to keep on going and to get the support that you need, because sometimes you don't actually need the kind of physical support of people. You don't need people to actually kind of interact with you. What you need is that psychological space, and you need to see people supporting you. And so for me, it was kind of like watching that guy, nodding every now and then and just sending him positive energies, and kind of like, at one point I remember coming home and I was praying for this guy to get a job because I could just see how hard he was working. So that's, that persistence, that kind of genuine day-to-day push, that is how you make your dreams happen. So create the right environment. I mean, it's really amazing. Let me share some statistics with you that I read kind of earlier today as I was preparing for this and thinking about how am I actually going to encourage you to create that right physical environment for yourself. I mean, so they did some research, and basically it says that, when people are working for themselves, or they're employed, let's say, and they're between the ages of 25 and 54, on average they spend 7.7 hours sleeping, 8.7 hours working or in work-related activities, 2.5 hours per day in leisure or sports, 1.1 hours in household activities, an hour eating, almost an hour and a half caring for others, and an hour and a half doing other things. That means we're spending almost 9 hours in work or work-related activities. And the amazing thing about that is you've got to make sure that you're in an environment that is conducive to you kind of really giving your all, to really pushing yourself, to actually being productive. And whether that's literally opening up your laptop like I was speaking about before, and then you're in that zone, or whether you need to get yourself into that space, that physical space that works for you. And it can be a coffee shop, it can be an office space. Look, if you need to hire a space to work in because you know that you're more productive there, go and do it. Do it for a month. Work out if you are actually more effective in a space that you've hired, or set up the right environment. And whatever works for you, there is no judgment here. There is no kind of like, you've got to do it this way, you've got to do it that way. You just make sure that you keep on going and you have that right environment. Thank you, Monju, for a great question here. How to deal with mental stress at work. I will come back to that. And if anyone's got any questions that they'd like to ask, then just pop them below, and I'm going to come back and just do some quick Q&A at the end of this video. So please just make sure that your physical environment is conducive to you working, and it meets your needs kind of physically, because if it does, psychologically, you're going to be so much more happier. And here's the amazing thing. When you are happy in your environment, psychologically, other things fall into place. You become much more productive at work. Really, try it out. And then you'll come back and you'll say, of course, 100% right. And what do I mean by that? in terms of what are the ingredients of a good space. Some people need quiet, some people need some like kind of dull background noise, which is why for me a coffee shop actually is pretty effective, because there is this kind of like hum and buzz of a noise in the background. And every now and then the coffee machine does get a little bit loud, but it just goes with the territory. Majority of people are not having kind of like private conversations within that space, so it is quite quiet. And yes, sometimes it does get a little bit interesting, but that's fine. It's the nature of the space. Also, think about the kind of color of the environment that you're in. As you can see here, this space that I've got is home is quite light. We've got white walls and a green wall. It is quite conducive to work. And I'm making this video here towards the end of the day. In fact, actually it's kind of like nighttime now, but if you saw it in the daytime, you would see how lovely and bright and airy it really, really is. And that in itself creates a lovely, conducive environment. So think about these ingredients. Think about the noise level. Think about the physicality. Think about your desk. I mean, gosh, do you want to have one of these desks that's a walking desk? So you actually, got this little, this kind of like an adapted treadmill-y thing. So you're walking and your desk is much higher and you can stand. Do you have a sitting desk? I would always encourage you to have space where you can just kind of get up and stretch your legs for a second, so that, you're activating your physicality as well. Please, whatever you do, don't be in a space where you cannot move and you feel as if you're trapped. The worst office space I have ever worked in was literally where we had enough space for our laptop and kind of like a couple of walls either side of us, and that was it. I mean, it was horrendous. It really, really was. But we still got work done. So if you're determined, and even if your space isn't great, do what you need to do. Commit to yourself that once you meet your targets, let's say, you're going to get yourself a nicer space. And I think if I'm completely honest and brutal with myself, then one of the biggest challenges about working from home, and I've always had that, even when I was working as a director in local government and when I started working for myself, the challenge always is this one, that when you're working from home, you get distracted by the day-to-day stuff. So if there's washing that needs to get done, or if you see something that's out of place, what's the thing that you're going to want to do? You'll want to sort it out. So actually it requires a real sense of discipline for you to then say, okay, do you know what? I'm going to not go there and I'm just going to carry on working. And I used to actually set myself a timer where I'd work for maybe, 40 to 50 minutes and then go and do one thing. So it could be working for 40 to 50 minutes. I'd put the wash on. Then in my break, I'd go and do my stretches, grab a drink, etc. And then, take the washing out, hang it out, etc. and do things like that. So you do get a lot of things done, but you get them done because you plan them into your breaks and they're not acting as a distraction from the work that you've got to do. So I can understand how, things at home can be a challenge, but it's also just, work your way around it. And actually, if you're in an office space, and like a formal office space, let's say, and you're trying to work out how to make that more comfortable, write out your list. Make a list of the things that you need in order to make it a great space for you, and then work out how you can actually do it. Once you've got that list, you've got an aim and a target, and you can see what you can actually do to achieve that, if that makes sense. Right? But you create the environment. So work out what your parameters are and then make them a reality for you. And what's wonderful is that once you've got the right environment for you, you can map out your dreams on a napkin. That was one of the things that I was doing earlier on today in the coffee shop. Literally, I sat there. I had my journals, I had my notebook, I had my laptop, I had everything. And what did I end up doing? I just got a scrappy little bit of paper and I started to write on that. And what's interesting is that sometimes when you take a pristine, brand new piece of paper or you open up a new journal, sometimes you get scared of messing it up. So you want everything to be in there to be perfect. Yet if you start with a second-hand bit of paper or something that's a bit scrappy, you're more likely to write down what you really want because you're willing to make mistakes. I'm going to urge you, it doesn't matter what you're doing, what your dreams are. And to some degree, you can even ignore all that stuff that I said about environment. If you're in a real place that kind of gives you some tension, go to a new environment, go to a library, just find 5, 10, 15 minutes and start to map out your dreams. Because when you get that pen on paper comes in, it's just incredible. You've got to make sure that you articulate what it is that you want, because if you don't do that, then those dreams and those ideas and those projects, they all stay inside your head. And what actually kind of shows itself is your life is the real challenges that you're facing on a day-to-day basis, because one of those dreams that I would hope that you would have is to solve all of the problems that you are facing. If you need any assistance with any of this, at the moment you can actually go to Saiyyidah.com, and there's some download, or actually there are a couple of downloads, but there's also a free training series at the moment that you can watch, which is called Results Resolution, and it actually enables you to how you can take your problems and turn them into a reality, and in terms of finding solutions for them and actually turning them into projects and resolving them. So rather than just kind of like having your problems sitting there and like just constantly chewing away at you, you actually turn the solution into a reality. And you can get that download at www.saiyyidah.com. You'll see the results resolution there, and you can just get that for you. That's my gift for you. Okay, I'm going to open the floor up to any questions that you've got, and perhaps do some live coaching. So if you've got any questions, just pop them as a comment below, and let's get to it. So Monju Islam is asking how to deal with mental stress at work. And that's a great question. I think sometimes what happens is that when we have mental stress, it's actually really understanding the root cause of it. Is that stress taking place because you're overstretched at your job? Is it because there's some skill set that you need? Or is it because there are individuals within the workplace that are causing that pressure and that stress? And so I would urge you to really think about what is the kind of main cause of the stress. It could even be that you're not getting enough sleep, or you're not getting the right vitamins and energy and nutrients that your body needs. So you're finding your work much harder. But you've got to understand what is actually causing that mental stress before you can then actually go on to deal with it, and deal with it in a really, really positive way. So find out what that is, and then let's work on a plan for how we can solve that. And if you come back tomorrow, I'm going to go live tomorrow. I want you to share with me, and if you're still here, just share with me in a comment now, what is the cause of that stress, and let's see if we can just kind of like come up with a solution to that today, or actually work out a strategy. One of the most important things to resolving any problems or challenges that one faces is actually having the strategy. So let's see if we can do that for you. Wafa Mahdi, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says, this is exactly my problem. I get easily distracted, and when I finish all my chores, I don't have the energy for my work. So let me give you a tip for that one, because I think that's really important. It's so easy for us just to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff that happens in life, and then kind of sit down at like 8 o'clock in the evening and think, okay, now's the time for me to start. Actually, you don't have the physical or the mental energy to be able to do it. And I am going to talk in another live about the relationship between physical and mental energy, because I think that's absolutely crucial. But if you get to that space where you don't have the energy for your work, let me give you some tips. Number one, try a few minutes of kind of meditation or deep breathing exercises with your eyes closed, just to create that kind of psychological energy. And it's crazy, but when you meditate and you kind of get into that relaxed zone, you actually do become much more productive, because you're kind of channeling into your creative side of things. So you'll find that you then are able to use that as a bridge between your day-to-day stuff and actually going in and getting into your work. the other thing that you can do is have some sort of a trigger. So earlier on in this live, I spoke about how when I would have calls with my colleague about doing like podcasts for some practical theology stuff that I was doing. And I said to him that when I open my laptop, it's as if I invite you into my room. That's a trigger. Because I had actually then decided that on that day, on those meetings, when I open up my laptop and I go into my Zoom call, that is me inviting him into my home. And that was really, really important because it helped me set that up as something that was quite positive in terms of me inviting someone in and us having a really, really deep, meaningful conversation. Otherwise, actually, it's very easy for anybody to speak to anybody online and for it just to kind of, for there to be an element of superficiality. So one of the things that I've now taught myself as a trigger for when I do these lives is that when I turn on go live or, start live video, I'm then opening you up into my home. It's very important because it helps me to think that you are the guests in my home, and it creates a real kind of psychological shift where I feel then as if I'm speaking to friends, and it's a different approach, and I hope that you can see that, because for me, you guys are my friends. You're just an extended part of my family, which is why I am here. So I spoke about triggers, I spoke about meditation, and the other thing that I would say is actually diarise a time for when you're going to do your work. When you plan things and you've got them in your schedule, it's incredibly crazy how much more effective you become. And because I always say, if something's important for you and it's not in your diary, I question how important it is. So put it in your diary. Once you've got it in there, actually, you are more likely to make it happen because you believe that that thing is important and critical to you. So you then put it in your diary. Then, I don't know, let's say 7 p.m., 6 p.m., whatever time it is for you, that's that one time when you're going to be doing the work. And you're more likely to get it done. It's amazing. Some people, get up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, do this, do that. That's all great. But you need to work out the right time for you. And it could be that 5 or 6 or 7 a.m. actually is the right time for you to do your work. It could be that let's say, I don't know if you've got kids or other commitments, but let's say you've got kids that go to school. They're off to school, then you're free and you can actually get your best work done between 10 and 1. Whatever works for you, it doesn't matter. But that time has to be so sacred, and you've got to treat it with some level of real importance as if you are working for yourself. So one of the other things that I think is really important is that when you view yourself as the CEO of your life, you start to take your life much, much more seriously. And I think that's an incredibly important point for us to end on when it comes to really creating that right environment. Because here's the thing, right? If someone else was going to hire you, or if you were going to hire somebody else, right, how important would you view the environment that they were in because they're now working for you? You'd make sure it was pretty good for them, right? You would make sure that they have the best environment possible that is conducive to their needs in order for them to do the best work for you. And that's how you've got to view your environment. You've got to take it so seriously. I cannot tell you. I cannot emphasize it enough. I really can't. And Ahmed, I'm very, very well. Thank you. I hope you are too. Thank you so much for your comments. Look, guys, if you're watching this and you're watching the replay, please type in replay below. If you've got any questions, just pop them in and I will come back and I will answer them either afterwards or in another live for you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Facebook. I've loved being here with you, and see you again very soon. And thank you so much to Instagram. I've actually really, really enjoyed this. I hope you guys have been able to hear me and have benefited from it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Take care.